Right, so this time we're looking at CodingBat Warmup1, and the exercise is frontBack. So we've been given a string, and we need to return a new string where the first and last characters have been exchanged or swapped over. So we've got frontBack here, and if we pass it the string code, C-O-D-E, we swap the C and the E round. So we have E at the start, C at the end, but the O-D in the middle is still the right way around. So it's not a complete reversal, we're just swapping the first and last characters. So quick reminder over here on my kind of little sketchy area to check that we understand how strings work. So the string code, looking like that, has the indices or index values, the position values, 0, 1, 2, 3. So how do we swap them around? First thing we need to do is kind of pull them out of this string. So I want the first character first. So I'll create a string called firstchar. And we're going to use str.substring. So the string is called str. We want to use substring to get just a bit of that string out. And we want to start at 0 and end before we get to character 1. So what does that mean? It means we start at 0, we stop before 1. So we're just going to get the letter C. That's all that will be. And that will always get us the first character. So that's pretty easy, I think. The last character, how do I get the last character out? So it'll be string lastchar equals str.substring. And this time I want character 3, which is the E, all the way to the end. So I don't need to put anything on the end. If I just do one number, it will do that position to the end. So that should get me the last character. So that's my C and my E. And then of course I still need the middle as well. So string middle equals str.substring. And this time I want the O and the D, so I want to start at 1. And I want to stop before I get to the E. So it'll be comma 3. There we go. So that should be the middle. So start at 1, stop at 3. Remember, a good way with substring is if you find the difference between those two numbers, which is 2, 3 take away 1 is 2, that's how many characters you should get. So I should get the O and the D. Then need to join those up. So string new word equals the last character first, because we're swapping them round, plus the middle, plus the first character last. And that should be what I need, and then I need to return that new word. So I think that should work. Get the first character, get the last character, get the middle, and then put them in that order. Last character, middle, first character should work. Now I'm typing this in Notepad just to give me some thinking space. You can type straight into the web page, into CodingBat, and that should still work. So let's give that a test. And it's going to take a few seconds. There we go. So I can see lots of things have failed, but importantly, the first one there, code, has worked. It's taken the first character C and swapped it. So it should say EODC, and it does say EODC, so it's definitely worked, and that's good. The others haven't, because I've done a very specific solution. It works for 4-letter words. Works here for Java, look. Swap the A and the, well, if we put in AAVJ, it should swap the first and last round and come out as Java, and it has. So it works for all 4-letter words. So how can we do it with a longer word like chocolate then that's failed? So let's replace this word here with chocolate. Can't type my spaces properly, there we go. I still can't spell either. There we go. So 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So chocolate then is a 9-letter word. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which means the numbers go 0 to 8, which is 9 numbers. So how will that change getting the first letter? It won't at all, because the first letter is always 0 and stop before you get to 1. So that's always the first letter. The last letter, this time, is going to be 8. So it was 3. I'm just going to write down, it was 3. And then here the middle is going to go H to T. So we're going to start at 1 and we're going to end at 8 because we stopped 1 step earlier. And that should give us 7 letters in the middle. Remember that again, that was 3. If you don't believe me, just rewind that video 5 seconds. But that was 3 as well. So I think I'm picking up on a good solution here. Again, I'll try pasting this in. Just check that it works before I do anything else. The indentation is a good habit, so it's worth doing that. So I'll run that through, and this time chocolate has worked. So it has swapped the C and the E round, so my 9-letter word does work. So my strategy is right, I just need to make it more general now. So this didn't change, it was always 0, 1, that's fine. This one did change, it was 3 when it was a 4-letter word, and it was 8 when it was a 9-letter word. So that's 1 less than the length of the word. And that kind of makes sense, because we know the last letter here is 8, because we go 0 to 8 for a 9-letter word. We know that this number, because we start counting at 0, will be 1 less than the length of the word. So in other words, instead of 8, we can say str.length bracket bracket -1. And that will take the length of the string, 9 letters, take away 1, 8 letters, so that will jump to 8 as the last letter. And then this will be the same thing, str.length bracket bracket -1. Now if that's a little bit confusing, what we can do, we'll make it a little bit simpler. I'll just delete that for a second and delete that for a second. So that was 8 and that was 8. What we're doing is we're getting the length of the string. So if I say length equals str.length -1, then in fact I'm going to call that last char position, because that's a really meaningful name. Length is a bit deceiving because the length isn't 8, the length is 9, but the last character position is 8. So if I calculate the last character position, then I can put that in there, and I can put that in there, and so that should work. And that might be a little bit easier to get your head around, this idea that we've worked out what the last character position is. So the last character is going to be that one to the end, and then that one there is going to be 1 up until just before the last character. And if that works, that's fine. If you'd rather put that code in there, that's fine as well. As long as it works, it's not a bad idea. So let's put that in there. And again, I'll just get my indentation right because it's a good habit. Makes the code easier to read. And it worked better. We're nearly there. Still a couple of mistakes. So let's try and figure out where the mistakes are. The mistakes appear to be really short strings. So if it's 1, let's try it with just 1 letter. So we've got A, which is position 0. Now what will the result be? If we swap A and A, we just get A, that's meaningless. We've also got an error where there's no characters at all. So it seems to me if it's a very, very short string, 2 letters works, but 1 letter and no letters doesn't work. And we don't need to make any changes if it's 1 letter, and we don't need to make any changes if there's no letters. So what I'm going to suggest is I'm going to work out the length of this string. No, I'm not. I'm going to say if str.length is less than 2, then I'm just going to return str as it is. Else, I'm going to do all of this stuff. And that should solve the problem. I'll sort my indentation out in the web page. And we'll just have a look at what that's going to do. So everything needs to be indented once. This is why it's probably easier for you to be typing directly into the web page rather than in Notepad, because the indentation will kind of flow a bit more naturally. So what's going on? If it's a really short string, if it's less than 2 characters, if it's 1 or 0, just pass it straight back. There's no change that we need to make. Otherwise, if it's 2 or more characters, so everything else, and we don't need to write the condition, it's just everything else, anything that isn't less than 2 must be 2 or more. Let's give that a go. And this time, there we go, all correct. So again, and I know I say it often, getting the correct code, or getting some correct code, is really, really good, but it's the process that's the important bit. So don't just copy this code. You've got to be able to do this problem solving in order to identify how to solve it. And generally speaking, a good strategy is to try solving the first one with fixed positions, and then try solving a different one with fixed positions, and then try and see if you can see a general solution, and then look for that kind of problem solving when you get some of them but not all of them. Try and work out what's the common area where it's failed, and try and solve it that way. So best of luck, keep going, and the next one will be Warmup1 and front 3.